Hello there. I'm Sheila Lowe, and I'm coming to you from California, sitting at what my friends call the command center, because it has 3 big monitors, and at my trusty keyboard, this is where I spend most of my life. I was born in London, England, a very long time ago, and my interest in mysteries and suspense stories started on my 8th birthday when I in my pile of presents, received a book by Enid Blyton, The Sea of Adventure. And as you can see, it's a little the worse for wear, but it is more than 60 years old. That book just got me hooked. And I'd been watching Naughty and Big Ears stories since I was quite small. And I always loved Enid Blyton, so I dove into her mysteries, and I loved them too. Well, my parents decided a few years later to relocate to the United States. And I've been in California since shortly after the Beatles' Royal Command performance. I was 14, and at that time I was writing stories about the Beatles, and I was always married to Ringo. You know, they came over to the States just a few months after we did, and I like to think they followed me over. My school friends loved reading those stories that I was writing, but they're a far cry from what I write now. But in the meantime, when I was in high school, my boyfriend's mother had read a book on handwriting analysis, and she analyzed my handwriting. She wanted to know, I guess, what kind of girl her son was dating. Well, I was completely enthralled with the things that she said about me. And it got me started reading everything I could lay my hands on about handwriting. And that's how I found my career, which I currently still practice. I'd worked in handwriting analysis for about 20 years. And one day, an attorney phoned me and wanted me to go to court and testify in a case of forgery. I told him, no, I only do personality assessment. I don't do forgery cases. But he said, do you know handwriting? Well, of course, the answer was yes. I'd been practicing for 20 years. And he said, then I'll get you qualified. We're going to court tomorrow. And I did. And as they say, the rest is history. Well, people kept saying, you ought to write a book. And at that point, I'd just been writing technical papers about handwriting and personality. And then I did have 2 books published on the subject. But I'd always wanted to write a mystery. And in 1997, I got started writing the first Claudia Rose forensic handwriting mystery suspense series. And it was another 10 years before it actually got published by Penguin. After the 4th book came out, my editor, who loved my series, left the publishing house. And the new editor came in, and she really didn't care. So I ended up very happily with a small publisher called Suspense, who also publishes Suspense magazine. They rebranded my first 4 books, and then they published all the rest of the series so far. And number 8 in the Forensic Handwriting Mysteries will be released next summer. It's called Dead Letters. And in this book, Claudia's 18-year-old niece goes missing on an archaeological dig in Egypt. So, of course, Auntie Claudia goes looking for her and ends up traveling the world trying to find her, and lots of suspenseful things happen. Finally, I've started a new paranormal suspense series too. I became interested in the paranormal and the afterlife after a horrible tragedy in my life when my daughter, Jennifer, was killed by her boyfriend when she was 27 back in 2000. He killed himself too. I began to research what happens when we die, and I learned that there is no death, but there is life after Earth. And Jennifer has given a lot of evidence that she's still very much involved in my life actively. So I began to write this new Beyond the Veil series about a young woman who reluctantly talks to dead people who nag her to do stuff for them. And Proof of Life was the most recent book. And here it is, right here. Proof of Life. When I was thinking about writing it, over a period of months, 3 different mediums independently told me that Jennifer was going to help me write it. And she did. There's one particular scene where the character, Jessica, dreams she's in hell. Or maybe she doesn't dream it. Maybe she's really there. When she wakes up, there are black X's on the palms of her hands. Well, I wrote that scene, but I didn't really know what that meant in the story. And I just let it go. When my editor got the book, she said I couldn't just leave it like that. I had to let my readers know the significance of those marks. So I thought about it and I asked Jennifer, what should I say? What does that mean? And almost instantly, the perfect answer was downloaded into my head. And it was the complete opposite of what I had been thinking about writing. And that happened more than once. It was very cool. Well, of course, if you want to know what those black X's meant, you're going to have to read the book. And like all of my books, Proof of Life is in print and ebook, but it's also in audiobook. And as it happens, I have some free codes for US and UK readers or listeners at this point up. And anyone who'd like to listen to the book for free can contact me at my email, sheila@sheilalowe.com. That's SHEILALOWE. And I would like to invite you to visit my book's website, which is claudiaroseseries.com. So I hope you found this interesting, and thank you so much for listening.